This is Optimal Health Daily, episode 279. What to Do When Your Phone Dies by Neghar Fonooni of negharfonooni.com, and I'm Dr. Neil, your very own personal narrator. Hey, welcome to a Thursday edition of Optimal Health Daily. This is one of 5 podcasts where we read to you from blogs for free so that you don't have to read them for yourself, except on Fridays. That's where I usually answer your questions. Now today, we're lucky to have a sponsor for this show, so a big thanks to Talkspace, the online therapy company that believes that therapy should be affordable, confidential, and convenient. A Talkspace therapist can help put you on the path to a happier life. For a special offer for just our listeners, come by Talkspace.com/OHD. And since really what we're all after is happiness, that's probably why you're listening to this podcast, is you're hoping I'm going to share something with you that you'll do that'll make your life happier. And so here's a quote from Tony Robbins that addresses happiness. Quote, "Yesterday is but a dream, and tomorrow is only a vision. But today well lived makes every yesterday a dream of happiness, and every tomorrow a vision of hope." Now, how is it possible to be happy when your phone dies? Well, let's get right to the post and find out as we optimize your life. What to Do When Your Phone Dies by Neghar Fonooni of negharfonooni.com. My phone was dead. Again. I'd forgotten to bring my external charger, which I've been lovingly and nostalgically referring to as my landline. My battery life is questionable at best, so that little charger usually goes with me everywhere, resulting in my cell always being plugged into something. Side note, are landlines still a thing? In any case, I had a 1.5 mile walk ahead of me. Not a long walk to be sure. At a comfortable pace, it'd only take about 30 minutes or so. I was enjoying extremely pleasant weather too, 70 degrees in Los Angeles at the end of January. I looked up, not a cloud in the sky. I take 1 to 2 leisure walks per day, but normally I distract myself. I pay attention to my surroundings in the basic sense, sure. I notice the weather and the scenery, and I do my best to be mindful. But I usually distract my senses with music, a podcast, or by watching the news. It's one of the few times I encourage multitasking. Because if you're going to listen to a podcast anyway, why not do it while moving? But what I realized yesterday was that I had become overly accustomed to obnoxiously singing along with the Hamilton cast, or laughing and or crying at the quips and queries on The Guilty Feminist. So accustomed, in fact, that the silence was at first unnerving. It seems silly as I write this, but I'm sure many of you can relate. We become so acclimated to constant digital connection and distraction that being without it can feel peculiar. So without headphones to plug into my ears, I plugged into the present instead. I listened to the sounds of birds chirping, cars whizzing by, and the chatter and laughter of the Sunday afternoon brunch crowd. I deliberately took greater notice of landscaping, the plants, trees, and flora that lined the streets and adorned the front yards of my colorful Venice neighborhood. I immersed myself fully in the act of walking, and it wasn't until I walked through my front door did I realize I hadn't really thought about anything as I walked. Okay, that's not entirely true. I had a Godmother sandwich from Bay City's Deli waiting for me at home, so I did think about that. But outside of anticipating the sheer joy of biting into one of the world's greatest sandwiches, I just walked. Allow me to state the obvious here. This is meditation. Without the digital comforts of my phone to distract me, I was forced to meditate, and I loved every second of it. As someone who has long touted the myriad benefits of meditation, I'm not ignorant to the fact that most people are either intimidated by the idea, it's too big, or they suck at meditating so they give up, it's too hard. I get it. I'm all for making things as accessible and sustainable as possible, which is why I almost never recommend my clients commit to straight-up meditation right off the bat. The truth is that traditional meditation can be too big of a leap for most of us. The disparity between our tendency for constant connection and sitting in stillness and silence is massive. But what if everything was a form of meditation? Because the truth is, meditation is simply the act of presence. It means that we are aware of our bodily senses and our breath as we attempt to depart from the constant stream of consciousness that exists in our minds. Meditation isn't necessarily the absence of thinking, as much as it is an awareness of thought. Many forms of traditional meditation encourage a connection to the breath and invite you to label any thoughts that come up as simply thinking. It's the act of switching from doing mode to being mode, and it's a powerful tool in the journey towards greater calm, clarity, and composure. But let's get real. How many of us are really taking the time to sit still and do this? Kudos to you if you are. Personally, I find that 3 to 5 minutes is the maximum amount of time I can meditate without starting to tip towards anxiety. And hey, 3 to 5 minutes is just fine by me. It does the job and helps me feel less cluttered in my brain space. If you're anything like me and the hundreds of folks I've worked with, meditation in the traditional sense isn't always easily accessible. It's one of those things that we know we should be doing at this point. Few among us need to be convinced of its benefits, but we just can't seem to commit to a meditation practice. Again, what if everything was a form of meditation? What if walking, gardening, yoga, dancing, and doing the dishes were all forms of meditation? Here's my challenge to you. Fully engage in the task at hand without distraction and with the intention of presence. If you're walking, immerse yourself in your environment. Notice the sounds and sights. Connect to the feeling of walking. If you're gardening, feel your hands in the earth. Focus on the foliage, the colors, and the smells. If you're dancing, connect your body to the music. Feel your body moving and reacting to the beat. When you do the dishes, do so mindfully instead of begrudgingly. Feel the temperature of the water. Take in the smell of the dish soap. When you stretch or do yoga, connect to your inhale and exhale. Engage with the feeling of your body bumping up against limitations. The next time you go for a walk, a hike, or find yourself sitting in solitude with nature, do so without the distraction of your phone. I'm not saying do this every time. I like listening to my podcasts, but maybe 1 out of 10 times, leave your phone at home. If you can't leave it at home for logistical reasons, put it on airplane mode, or at the very least, make it less accessible. If you can force yourself to disconnect, even for just 5 to 10 minutes, there's something magical that happens in that simple act of disconnection. You actually reconnect to yourself. You just listened to the post titled, What to Do When Your Phone Dies by Neghar Fonooni of negharfonooni.com. And a big thanks again to Talkspace for helping to keep this podcast going. We all need to take a little bit better care of ourselves, and mental health is no exception. Now, a lot of the benefits we heard in today's post could also be found through working with a therapist, someone you can talk to privately and at your convenience. Talkspace is an online therapy company that makes it easy to connect with an experienced, licensed therapist, hand-picked just for you, and for as little as $32 a week. Using Talkspace, you can send your therapist text, audio, and video messages whenever you want, or even do a live video chat. You can talk about work, family, or really anything going on in your life. Whatever the case, a therapist is ready to help. To sign up and learn more, come by Talkspace.com/OHD. And as a special for our listeners, you can use the coupon code OHD to get $30 off your first month, and it shows your support for this podcast. Again, that's coupon code OHD, and the link is Talkspace.com/OHD. So back to Miss Fonooni's post. You all are going to think weird of me, but I actually meditate when I clean the house. It is such a chore to vacuum the floors, mop them, vacuum the couch, dust. It usually takes me like half a day. And I'm so detail-oriented, it was starting to drive me insane. And so what I ended up doing was, again, because my phone died, I actually meditated while I was cleaning the house. And it was amazing. Instead of feeling exhausted afterwards, I actually felt rejuvenated. I had all of these thoughts, these great ideas came into my head while I was cleaning. I needed that quiet time to allow my brain to process everything. And as crazy as it sounds, I actually look forward to cleaning my house now because it's that assigned time for me where I know I'm going to get a mental break. So I highly encourage you, look at some of those monotonous tasks that you do. I love the example of washing dishes. And use that as a time to just let your brain process and meditate and think about being in the moment. Once you do experience this, I guarantee you'll never look at these chores the same. And the reason I'm using chores as an example, as opposed to exercise, is because we've talked about you doing this while you exercise. This has come up in previous shows many times before. So yes, I absolutely would love for you to meditate while you're walking, jogging, whatever it is. But if that's the time you really prefer to be listening to your own music or whatever, then look at those chores that you do. Look at those menial tasks that you have to do and use that time instead. All right, that's enough out of me today. That wraps up today's episode. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a subscriber to the show. I hope you have a great rest of your Thursday. I'll see you in another special Friday episode tomorrow where your optimal life awaits.
Hello, Life Optimizer. This is Justin Malik, creator and producer of this show and Optimal Living Daily, the brother podcast of this one. Literally, I'm Dr. Neil's brother. If you like the format of this show, you'll love Optimal Living Daily too, where I also read to you from blogs, but cover other topics like personal development, finance, and minimalism from bloggers like Derek Sivers, The Minimalists, Zen Habits, and many more. So for more amazing content read to you for free, come subscribe to Optimal Living Daily too, and together we'll optimize your life.
You've been listening to Optimal Health Daily. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on each new episode, and head to oldpodcast.com. That's oldpodcast.com for a free gift, as well as more actionable tips and resources to help you maximize your potential. Thanks for joining us, and remember, your optimal life awaits.